Now, if you ask me, orthorexia really is kind of a subdivision of anorexia, but it shouldn't be shrugged off as an attack on those who are just being health conscious, because there is definitely more to it than these studies portray. In many cases, both are easily and frequently existing together, complementing each other. Often anorexia using the benefits of orthorexia to eat less calories. That takes a lot of full-blown honesty to yourself to determine and recognize that you actually use eating healthy and whole foods only, for example, in order to eat less calories. Yeah. But if we were to look at them separately, with plain orthorexia, it's not about viewing the foods as fattening or full of calories like an anorexia sufferer would. It's a fear that eating these foods will give you disease or make you unable to fight a disease and become healthy again. I hope this explains more of the mental distress which comes from the health-obsessed style eating disorder, which we call orthorexia. And the same problem as with unrecognized orthorexia, we have with the official diagnosis criteria for anorexia nervosa. You can have full-blown anorexia and fall through all official criteria because they have weight as an essential criteria. Officially, you're anorexic when you're underweight according to the BMI and if you have fear of eating and gaining weight. This doesn't include the core of any eating disorder actually, that the mental restriction and fears are the one main point that define whether a person suffers from the eating disorder or not. These criteria imply that in order to have an eating disorder, you must be underweight and sickly looking, but that's not the case. Some doctors actually include if the patient has lost their period, but that also in itself is not a sign that a person has anorexia. Also, there are people who are underweight and still getting their period. In the end, you can be anorexic or orthorexic at any weight. The only thing that determines if you suffer from an eating disorder is what's going on in your mind. And no one can tell you that. You can even fool your psychologist. It's just easy to keep it secret for a long time. The only thing that can diagnose you is actually you and yourself by being 100% honest. So that's why there's actually no different shades or kinds of anorexia. From the view of their nature and mental manifestation in all anorexia sufferers, I don't agree with the differentiation of atypical anorexia nervosa. It's just the same as anorexia nervosa once you realize that the key symptoms of anorexia are not even included in the official diagnosis criteria of anorexia nervosa. Doesn't matter if you're even morbidly obese, your outside doesn't say anything about what's going on in your inside. You can, for example, be entirely absorbed in severe anorexia for 10 years and not be extremely thin due to metabolic adaptation and evolutionary responses to the little food you do still eat. Fact is, restricting vegans often end up as ex-vegans. Maybe always, but I don't know. And that's why I think these orthorexia videos by Dr. Greger are not really benefiting the vegan community because so many vegans have a history of eating disorders. Those often happen to be the plant-based for their eating obsessions at heart, which they mask as plant-based for health. For these people, veganism is just another way to exert control over what they eat by restricting themselves within the vegan diet. Many different rules and restrictions and limits within the vegan diet. Even if they don't do it for the sake of calorie restriction, they just go from one form of restriction to another one, from calorie restriction and anorexic behaviors and thoughts around food to the restriction of food groups within plant foods and certain macros and orthorexic behaviors and thoughts around food. That's actually a crazy thing to do, even though it might seem normal for some people. You so can be overly healthy and obsessed with being healthy, so much, and it's not only so easy as an individual to keep a secret for years and decades even, but it's even so socially approved and accepted that 90% suffering from it would never consider themselves orthorexic. Yeah, I made that number up, but think about it. It's so easy to just keep it secret. I myself brushed my obsession with doing everything right under the carpet for a long time, even though I was very open about it and even took comments from loved ones into account. But the thing is, the person suffering from orthorexia will always justify their choices and think they are not. They are just being healthy. So did I. I whitewashed my fears of fat, salt, and processed foods, etc., saying, well, it can't be wrong to strive for health, right? Truth is, it's an unimaginable fine line between the health of the mind, the body, and the soul. And getting all three of them right is the art of a healthy lifestyle and health ultimately, and of being, staying, or becoming a healthy vegan. I'm going into the topic of eating disorders masked as veganism later in the series, but for now, in my coming videos, let's dive into why high calorie density is a good thing, why 100% natural is not the goal when you're looking for the healthiest diet, and then into the most popular calorie restriction strategies and gimmicks like intermittent fasting and volume eating, etc., which all fail to recognize that weight loss is not desirable to happen on a created calorie deficit, but instead on sufficient calories promoting a fast metabolism that decides to happily drop excess weight. That is, if you want to keep your hormones, digestion, period, hair, immune system, and health. If this video helped you, please do subscribe and activate the bell. It would be great if you could give me a like and tell me what part helped you personally the most. If you know someone who needs this info, please consider sharing it directly with that person. Let's make this world a more food fearless place. I see you in my next one. Bye!